On today's Primetime local news, the Lloydminster Extreme Lacrosse are gearing up for provincials, and how you can support children's hospitals by eating ice cream. Plus, a look to this weekend's CPCA races in Poundmaker.
Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Miracle Treat Day, an annual donation event where Dairy Queen raises money to go towards the Edmonton Stollery Hospital, will be happening next week. Our Sarah Baker has more.
For the local Dairy Queen members, Miracle Treat Day holds a special meaning.
It means a tremendous lot to all of us because somebody at some point has been impacted by being treatment. Their child has gone to the Stollery Children's Hospital. The local community has been more than great in the last. This started 2012, where this initiative, and we've raised over $194,000 for Lloydminster, for the Stollery Children's Hospital.
This will be the first time since the COVID pandemic that the event will be back to how it is traditionally done.
Well, with COVID there, it was went strange there a bit. This is the first year back after a 2-year kind of different look at it. We did it different things during a week. Now we're back to the one-day event on Thursday, August the 11th.
A local family who has been impacted will also be at the Dairy Queen for Miracle Treat Day.
We're also having a Miracle Treat family come in on from 1 to 3 sometime during that time to help hand out blizzards, make blizzards, and explain to different people what they went through.
This year, the Lloydminster Dairy Queen has a goal of raising $20,000 to go towards the Edmonton Stollery Hospital and hopes to see community members there.
It goes towards like equipment, research, a lot of things, and everybody, like I said, has been touched by, or knows of somebody who's been at a children's hospital.
Sarah Baker, Primetime Local News.
The CPCA season is nearing its completion with only 2 more events left before the finals here in Lloydminster. Our Thomas Wildman has more on the races in Poundmaker this weekend.
Starting tonight was going to be the next event in the CPCA Tour at Poundmaker, Saskatchewan. And with us today to discuss that once again is Greg Buchanan. And so, Greg, though it's at Poundmaker now, originally this show was going to be at North Battleford. So why don't you tell me a little bit about why that change ended up taking place?
Actually, the show was sponsored and put on by Battleford Tribal Council. So the Battleford Chiefs decided to move it from North Battleford to Poundmaker. Various things came into play, and they decided Poundmaker was the best bet for the 4-day show that begins tonight.
It's a 4-day show. We've been used to more 3-day shows previous with like Frog Lake and other shows that have just been recently. And now we're kind of getting into crunch time. Is there any differences that our drivers are going to be going through here to kind of get close to the end of the season in terms of prepping their horses and what they're going to do going into each and every night?
Short turnaround. You go to Frog Lake for 4 days there, wrapped up Sunday, and all of a sudden you're on the road Monday, Tuesday. You set up camp on Wednesday, and you're ready to go tonight. So it's a short turnaround. A lot of race nights in a short period of time. You had 4 in Frog Lake, 4 in Poundmaker, 3 coming up in Meadow Lake, and then the Big 5 in Lloydminster for the new Lloydminster Nissan CPCA Finals. So there's a lot of challenges, and there's challenges all season long for the drivers and the outriders, and of course the barn crew to make sure those horses are ready. And more than anything, it was a bit of a break for some after the North American Chuck Wagon Championship, with just a 3-day show in Little Pine. But at the same time, you jumped right back into a 4-day show in Frog Lake, and it's a 4-barrel setup in Poundmaker, so it's going to be very similar to the Lloydminster Finals in a couple of weeks' time.
And so as we get closer to those Lloydminster Finals, we've got 2 guys who are kind of leading the championships right now in terms of the driver standings. Jamie Labicane is in second, and Logan Gorse is leading right now. Is this the time where they're going to be competing and trying to get those extra points? And what about the drivers who are very close? How important is this event in Poundmaker this weekend?
Every night now, going forward until that final Saturday night, because that final Saturday night at the new Lloydminster Nissan CPCA Finals is the last night of the season points. And then on that dash on Sunday in Lloyd will be for the Canadian Championship. So every night is vitally important, and there is a bit of a give and take between Jamie Labicate and Logan Gorse, with Logan with a slight lead there. But Todd Baptiste is coming off a show win in Frog Lake where he won the dash, comes off barrel number 4, steals the rail away from Logan Gorse. So look for, Todd Baptiste. He's knocking on the door for that second spot, third right now, and he's climbing up. Another driver that's really made a mark too is Preston Faithful. Cracking the top 4, was outside of the top 4 for the longest time, and all of a sudden a few good runs, and he's cracking that top 4. And the other great story right now has been Brad McMahon. Brad McMahon has been sensational. Wins Little Pine, gets the dash in Frog Lake, doesn't win it. But at the same time, it wasn't that long ago, Brad was sitting 15th and 16th in the point standings. Now he's in the knocking on the door for the top 10.
Certainly is exciting times right now as a CPCA fan and as a CPCA driver. And so, yes, coming up soon will be the finals in Lloydminster. And so lots of great CPCA action that will continue to be covered here on PTLN. And so thank you once again, always, for being with us, Greg.
Thanks, Thomas, for having me.
All right, it's time now for our first time to check in with the beautiful Shelby Clark, who has a first look at your evening weather forecast.
Wow, thank you so much to the handsome Jason Mackey for the introduction there. You got me. Now starting off with taking a first look at your weather forecast, though, we have cooled down slightly today for sure here in the border city. We are just sitting at 18 right now at the moment. We haven't been seeing too much warmer of temperatures as we were seeing earlier on in the week, and we have barely been seeing a little bit of sun. We were seeing a little bit of sun peeking behind those clouds earlier on in the morning around 10 or 11 a.m. and then it started to get a little bit more cloudy, but now as we go a little bit more in the evening as well, we are seeing it peak behind those clouds. So hopefully everybody is still enjoying their day, but we will be warming up a little bit for our weekend, although tomorrow we will be dropping down quite a little bit more for our temperature. And switching now over to temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan, they've kind of been joining suit with these temperatures over in the Alberta side especially. Most spots just around 16, 17 degrees over on this end. So go a little bit higher up, Cold Lake's just at 15, and over in Lac La Biche seeing that 14 degrees. Go a little bit lower here, and they are starting to slightly warm up compared to the rest with that 19 and 20 for Wainwright and Provost. Switching now over to our Saskatchewan side, they are looking slightly warmer compared to the Alberta side. As we go over here, a little bit higher up here, they are seeing slightly cooler temperatures with 19 and 18 for Isla Crosse and Pearceland. Go a little bit lower, and St. Walburg is joining suit with that 19 degrees, matching with us here in the border city, but the rest are just past that 20-degree point. 21, 22 for Maidstone, St. Walburg, Meadow Lake and Green Lake. Go a little bit lower to Macklin and North Battleford. They are seeing the warmest closer to that 30-degree point with 25 in Macklin, and North Battleford's just at 27. But for North Battleford overnight, they will be going down to low of 11, so still seeing those double digits, although they will be dropping to 14 for their daily high tomorrow. Daytime high, they're at 14 and seeing a mixture of some sun and cloud with a high chance of those showers. Cold Lake will be going down to a low of 10, so not dropping too much from what they are sitting at right now, although they will also be continuing those conditions with that precipitation keeping around throughout the evening. Then tomorrow they will be looking at 19, so warming up slightly compared to today, but still seeing some gloomier conditions for sure. Us in the border city going down to a low of 11. We are expecting to see a small chance of those showers starting up later on in our evening. Then tomorrow, like I said, we will be cooling down quite a bit, seeing that 16 throughout the day with a mixture of some sun and clouds. So hopefully we will be seeing a little bit more sun tomorrow, although we will be seeing some showers. So just get ready for some more rain coming up here in the border city. And now ending off with one of your beautiful photo submissions. Thank you to everyone that submitted some nice weather photos to our Facebook page. Absolutely love this shot. This is Perch Lake. Absolutely gorgeous. Love seeing that sunset there. Thank you to everyone that submitted some nice photos so far. And that's all I have for now. We'll have more coming up after the break.
Researchers at the University of Saskatchewan have released a study on natural disasters across Canada and how we can improve the risk management to prepare. Our Shelby Clark chatted with one of the researchers on what improvements can be made for strategies specifically when it comes to floods and droughts.
Joining us today for Primetime Local News is Dr. Simon Razavi with the University of Saskatchewan. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. Now, we're speaking here on researchers at USask with you, of course, and a team are exploring how floods and droughts are some of the costliest natural events that occur not only in Canada, but, across the globe, across the world here. Now, can you explain why these cause such a major economical impact?
Because our livelihood depends on water, and not only to survive economically and for our health, also our assets, people. We are all exposed to natural disasters around water. And of course, as you said, floods and droughts have been the costliest natural disasters globally in the last several years.
And for, of course, just kind of angle it towards for Saskatchewan, especially, I didn't know if you happen to know what natural disaster would you say affects the province the most when it comes to this?
Of course, we have had experiences of major floods and droughts in the province in the past. We still, for example, remember the major drought that happened back in 2001 or so for a few years. And even after that, we've had some very dry spells that definitely affected our agricultural activities in Saskatchewan. And yeah, you know what, in Saskatchewan, in prairies in general, we live in the most water-stressed region in Canada, and we should know that, and we should be planning for that, and as we do, actually.
Mm-hmm. And what exactly did your team at University of Saskatchewan with, international researchers find in your study when it came to risk management strategies and how they can be improved? Can you kind of expand on that?
Absolutely. You know what, when it comes to natural disasters like floods and droughts, there are two aspects. Of course, one aspect is science, scientific developments, how we can improve our knowledge about these disasters. The other aspect is about society, how the society can better adapt. So as part of this study that you mentioned, yeah, about 100 people from all around the world, from academia, research institutions, we basically came together and we tried to share our experiences, our local experiences on the major flooding events and drought events, and basically to see what we can learn from each other on how to better basically serve the society. And of course, academia is there to serve the society. And to give you a brief overview of our methodology in this, which is quite important, was that so we took a paired event approach, meaning we looked at natural hazards that happened in the same region consecutively, for example, a few years apart. And we looked at both events. For example, think of Ottawa flooding back in 2017 and Ottawa flooding in 2019, just a couple of years apart. And we looked at these two events and we tried to understand how we did better or where we failed in the second flooding event based on what we had learned from the previous flooding back in 2017. And you know what, the results, the outcome of this global study was astonishingly important, in a sense that we learned, although we invest a lot in the wake of these natural disasters, we try to do much more. Sometimes we need to change our approach, our attitude to risk management. And sometimes for some now pretty apparent reasons, we might even do worse in the second natural hazard. And that is primarily because of changes in the climate and changes in societies as well. And basically, we live in a very dynamic world. We have to keep improving and adapting both our science and adaptation in societies.
I think it's really important to know that you are looking into this topic and kind of just trying to find some better solutions and trying to improve those strategies on making sure everything is out, everybody's out safe and everything is safe when it comes to these natural disasters. Now, I kind of wanted to ask when it came to, you were saying across the prairies, when it comes to droughts, especially for farmers and everything, of how they could maybe keep safe and just be prepared for things and natural disasters like this for when they're coming, especially during the summer.
Yeah, drought has been always a major problem in the prairies. And from years to years, we had to struggle with that. And of course, there is no easy solution to it. So Saskatchewan is primarily dryland agriculture. And of course, dryland agriculture is quite extensive in Alberta as well. So when you do dryland agriculture, you look at the sky. So local precipitation is quite important. But when you do irrigation in this region, then you heavily rely on major surface waters. And that is basically for a region, South Saskatchewan River. And the source of water for Saskatchewan River, both North and South Saskatchewan, are the Rockies. So basically the snowmelt glaciers that are located up there in our headwaters. And the Rockies are quite distant from our region in a sense that we can, in different years, we can experience some sort of weather, for example, dry weather in Saskatchewan, but we still in those years can get good amount of snow in the Rockies. So that can help us a lot actually to basically switch between dryland and irrigation, because these are kind of different sources of water coming to us with different type of dynamics and changes over time.
Well, thank you once again so much for joining us today, Doctor. Really glad we're able to speak with you and be able to get the word out just on your team, kind of looking into this and helping get some better strategies out there to help keep everyone safe and keep crops safe and the animals safe and whatnot. So really glad we're able to speak with you today.
Thank you.
Now here's a look at today's agriculture prices. With a win in their most recent playoff series against the Red Deer Renegades, the Lloydminster Extreme are back on a familiar stage for the first time in 4 years. Our Adil Ahmed has more details.
For the first time since they won it all back in 2018, the Lloydminster Extreme are back in familiar territory at the Tier 2 Lacrosse Provincials. The Extreme prepped for their final practice of the season on Tuesday night. One player who was a part of that 2018 roster is Logan Simon, who's hoping to provide his experience on the big stage to the younger group.
Just make sure not getting too overwhelmed with it being provincials like last time. It was the first time the Extreme went, so we never felt that before. But I believe with a little bit of experience that we have on our team here, with me and Chase Hankey just being the last ones that have been there, we can bring a lot of experience to make sure the guys don't get too much caught up in the moment.
For most players on the team, it will be their first taste of what it's like to play on the provincial stage. That includes Lachlan Jenner, who's already had a new experience of his own this year after going from goaltender to defense.
I mean, learning all the systems, which guys switch, and but like I said before, lots of these veteran guys really came and helped me, so it's obviously awesome to see that.
One of those veteran guys on the team is second-year player and team captain Jared Fisher, who's looking forward to carrying his squad to the big stage with his leadership.
I think that I'm always talking to the boys, getting them ready to go, getting them pumped up for the games, letting us know what we need to work on and what we all need to do better.
Well, actually, I grew up with Jared. We're both from Kitskotty, and we both started playing lacrosse around the same age. And just seeing each other progress, we've always been so competitive with each other. He's really come a long way as a leader, and I really look forward to seeing him play this weekend. I have no doubts that he's going to bring his A game.
Our best guy, I'm going to say that, but he's such an easy guy to talk to. He's never too high, never too low. He's just right in the middle. Obviously a guy you want on almost every team. So
the Extreme will now head over to Sylvan Lake, where they will face off against 3 different teams from August 5th to the 7th, with their first matchup taking place against the red-hot Sylvan Lake Yeti, who have gone 13-1 on the regular season. Adil Ahmed, Primetime, Local Sports.
It's going to be exciting. I know Shelby was just saying she's hoping to get tickets to that game. Shelby, you'll be cheering on there. Yeah. It's time now to check in again with Shelby to get a look at our evening weather forecast.
Thank you so much again there, Jace. Yes, definitely looking to get tickets. I know we're fighting to wait for that August 19th date to come up here. Try and get those tickets real soon, but Hopefully it'll happen. I think we all want to go check out that game when it hits Edmonton. Now switching over to our weather forecast, though, starting off with an extended look, of course, looking at our central zone of Alberta and Saskatchewan of the provinces. Here we are going to be starting off with the Alberta side, and we have cooled down quite a bit compared to what we were looking at yesterday for sure. Just under that 20-degree mark. Aren't seeing much spots past that point. 18 degrees for Edson. While they start to cool down from there, Edmonton is just a degree cooler at 17. Most spots are just at 16 and 15 over on this end. Switching over to our Saskatchewan side, they are looking a lot warmer compared to the Alberta side for our central zone. 22 for Meadow Lake, while it is 23 in Prince Albert, 25 over in Melfort, and 25 as well in North Battleford, and Saskatoon is looking the warmest. They're just under that 30-degree mark, and surprisingly, even spots over here have that heat warning in effect. So definitely looking a lot warmer compared to the Alberta side. Quite a change once you switch. And going over to our northern zone now, they have cooled down by a few degrees from what they were looking at yesterday. Still looking somewhat a little bit warmer compared to what we are seeing our central zone. We are just seeing 18 degrees in most spots, just 18 degrees in most spots, 17, 16 for Wollaston Lake, Stony Rapids, and La Loche and Buffalo Narrows, both at 15. And switching now back to our Alberta side, here they are looking a lot cooler than what we would expect, especially with those 13s and 14s over on this end. High levels looking the warmest there at 21 degrees, and then Fort Chipewyan and Grand Prairie just a few degrees cooler with that 17 and 18. Now going over to our southern zone, not too surprisingly, they are still looking quite warm, especially for Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, just seeing underneath that 30-degree mark. But as we go a little bit higher up, they are definitely dropping low by like 10 degrees from what they were looking at yesterday. 16, 17, 18 for Banff, Calgary, and Coronation. So definitely have cooled down like we have in the central and our northern zone. And going over to our Saskatchewan side, as you can see, that heat warning is in effect for most spots over on this end. 35 and 34 for Swift Current and Moose Jaw. So enjoy your days out there, but please make sure you're staying safe, staying hydrated, and using that sunscreen. 33 over in Estevan, while Regina's just at 31. And Yorkton and Kindersley are looking a couple degrees cooler with 25 and 28, but still a lot warmer compared to the rest that we were just looking at. Now going back across the region, now looking at what we will expect throughout our evening and throughout the night. We are going to be cooling down for our evening lows for most spots, seeing those single digits for Provost and Miriam, 8 and 9. Then most spots will be expecting to see a low of 11. Meadow Lake will be expecting to see a low of 10, and Wainwright will be slightly warmer with a low of 12. So most spots are still seeing those double digits, but the condition-wise, we will be seeing a high chance of some precipitation for most spots across the region. And looking at our 3-day forecast for here in the Border City, we're seeing 16 tomorrow to start off our weekend, but don't worry, we'll be warming it back up with 21 and 24. Seeing a mixture of some sun and cloud for both days, and just to end off our weekend there. So don't worry, we're seeing a beautiful weekend coming up here in the Border City. And ending off now with another look at weather submission we've had submitted to our Facebook page. Thank you for this one, Diane. A beautiful shot here of the field and seeing those storm clouds over there. Love to see it. Thank you to everyone that submitted some nice weather photos so far. And that's all I have for now. Our Jace Mackey will have more news coming up after the break.
It's time now to check in once again with SGI. This month, their traffic safety spotlight for August is on distracted driving. Tyler McMurtry is here, their media manager. Tyler, the message from SGI this month is when you're driving, just drive.
Yeah, we talk about distracted driving a lot, and the reason for it is because it is still a very significant concern on our roads. 1 in 5 collision-related injuries that we see in the province of Saskatchewan has distracted driving as a factor. We see, 780 people on average injured every year in distracted driving collisions, and another nearly 22 people lose their lives in those same collisions. So we want people to be aware of what they may be unaware of when they head out on the roads, and the importance of, foregoing all those other distractions and just focusing on the matter at hand. And that's the safe operation of that motor vehicle.
So you were going through some of the statistics of how serious this can be and how many people get injured and the amount of collisions that are caused by distracted driving. Can you talk about the penalties that drivers face if they're caught driving distracted? And I understand too, if you get called multiple times, it kind of escalates.
Oh yeah, the penalties are very significant, starting with the first offense when you're looking at a $580 ticket and 4 demerits. And then for repeat offenses, you're absolutely right, Jace. The penalties escalate significantly. A second distracted driving ticket within 1 year of being convicted on your first, that ticket's $1,400, and there's another 4 demerit points. But in addition to that, the driver will have their vehicle impounded for 1 week, and that happens immediately at roadside. The police officer will call a tow truck right there and haul that vehicle away for a week-long staycation. And I don't think anybody wants to do without their vehicle. Despite the cost of gas these days, everybody needs their vehicles to get around. And then, okay, so there are a small number of people every year who get a third distracted driving ticket within 1 year of being convicted on their first. And that third ticket, oh my goodness, it's $2,100, another 4 demerits, and another week-long vehicle impoundment. So you can just imagine the cost of that. And those demerits, what that refers to is, the SGI Safe Driver Recognition Program, which provides discounts if you're a safe driver, but if you're on the negative side of that scale, it leads to additional financial penalties, and that's a hole you don't want to find yourself in.
So it's not worth it to respond to that text or go through social media. Just wait until you're at your destination or do it beforehand.
Yeah, and we're just talking about the penalties, the financial costs, but when you're thinking about the human costs that we referred to earlier, those 780 injuries on average we see every year, those 21.6 deaths, so 22 deaths per year related to distracted driving. I mean, that's the real reason why you should check the phone and why you should be wary of the other potential distractions as well. I mean, it could be anything from fiddling with the radio, the kid or the pet in the back seat, or the pet jumping on your lap, the burgers and fries that you just picked up at the drive-through. Be cognizant of the fact that when you're operating a motor vehicle, that's a large, heavy, dangerous weapon if it's not wielded appropriately and carefully. So it's really important for drivers to stay alert, be aware of their surroundings, and when they're driving, just drive.
So police in Saskatchewan this month, they're putting an extra focus on looking for those distracted drivers. And it's not just being on your phone, talking, holding your phone. That's, distraction as well, right?
Yeah, so there are 2 different offenses. The words distracted driving don't actually appear in the Provincial Traffic Safety Act, but there's 2 offenses. One is holding, using, manipulating, or viewing a handheld communications device, a cell phone, while you're operating a motor vehicle. And that includes if you're stopped at a red light. If you're in the driving lane, you're driving. So keep your hands off your phone, even though in those circumstances. The other one is called driving without due care and attention. And so this is an offense. It's less common than the cell phone offense because it's very easy to determine when somebody's on their cell phone. But that driving without due care and attention encompasses all the other potentially distracting activities. It doesn't mean you can't take a sip of coffee or even reach into that bag of chips while you're driving. We've all done it. But it does mean that if a police officer observes or has evidence that you were not carefully operating that vehicle, if you weren't giving that active driving its proper attention, you may get a ticket for that. And the ticket cost is the same. It's $580, and for repeat offenses, those escalations that I referred to earlier. So it's really important for us to be aware of the other things that might potentially distract us while driving, because the list is endless, really. And so no law could cover all of them. There's no law that says you can't read a book while driving, but I think we all know you shouldn't read a book while you're driving.
Awesome, Tyler. Thank you so much. It's always great to be able to connect with you.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Well, first off, Clayton, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It's an absolute pleasure. You have this new album out with the Congregation, your band, of course, called The Ugly Truth. That is absolutely incredible, which we're going to be talking about here in a few minutes. But first, we got to talk about your very busy summer that you've had so far with the Congregation and with the Roadhammers. We were talking about it a couple of minutes ago, and it sounds very exciting. So what have you been up to?
It's been incredible, crisscrossing the continent, really. The feedback and the amount of great things have been happening with the Congregation. It's just kind of started to snowball. I never really thought that this was going to go like this, but people seem to really like the music. So that's incredible. We've been, back and forth all over the place. We were in Nashville playing a show. We were just in Vancouver with Big Sugar, and then we were out in Ontario with the Roadhammers, and now I'm back in Alberta on the road with another great Canadian rock band Big Wreck doing some shows, and the album just dropped on Friday, so people can go out and download it and listen to it. So we've just been running like crazy in the middle of 7 shows right now in a row.
Wow. That is a lot of work, but it looks like you guys have been having a ton of fun from what I've seen on social media, of course. And you guys are still going to be bringing it this fall, but you're going to be bringing it in a bit of a different way back to Lloydminster. Now, I saw you back in February when you were at the Vic Juba Community Theater, and you put on one heck of a show. And I've seen you a couple of times, so I can vouch that you always put on one heck of a show. Now, this one coming up on September 30th here at the Vic Juba Community Theater, you're going to be paying tribute to an absolute legend, Tom Petty. So tell us a bit about that show.
Yeah, it's kind of an exciting little side project. Like I need another side project, but some friends of mine and I got together and we just decided that we were going to, pay tribute to one of our favorite artists. As a songwriter and a musician, Tom Petty has always been one of my biggest influences, and when I was growing up. And so we got together and just learned a bunch of Petty tunes, and next thing you know, we started playing a few shows. So this has been great, especially after being at the Vic Juba not too long ago with the congregation. It was such a great turnout and a great show. And then now going back to do some Petty music, it's fun, and it's it's complex in its simplicity. Tom Petty music is, you really have to he just plays exactly for the song, and it's been really a great learning experience, and it's so fun because you get to play all your favorite songs all night.
For sure. And you guys put on an electric show that night with FKB as your backing band for that performance. What is your favorite Tom Petty song to perform?
I think "Running Down a Dream's" one of my favorites. Yeah, that always gets me going, and there's nothing like a minute and a half solo at the end of a song to really, as a guitar player, I gotta say.
For sure. Now we got to talk about your new music that just came out, some originals. So this album, The Ugly Truth, just came out on Friday, and let me tell you, it is cinematic to say the least. Every single song is so powerful, and it is just rock and roll at its core. I love it. I love all your music since you brought it out with the congregation. So The Ugly
Thank
Truth by the congregation. Tell me a bit about the process behind making it.
Yeah, I teamed up with new producers, well, 2 of them actually. My good friend Dan Davidson, who has been a co-conspirator of mine for many years. We've written and worked together on lots of projects. He was a co-producer on this album, along with Dan Weller from London, England, who's worked on tons of great progressive rock records in the UK and in America. And we sat down and really wanted, this album took a bit of a different turn, mostly because we were in complete lockdown when we recorded it. It was all recorded at home. Um, and we were recording sometimes over the wire with Dan in London tuning in via video, and me recording in my studio. It was a really interesting process, but the album I'm really excited about. It was mixed by Dan and by Adrian Bushby, who's done Muse and the Foo Fighters, and we just really wanted to make a more of a progressive sounding album, and I think we nailed it, and I'm really excited about it.
You definitely did that. And my favorite song on the album, and I've told you this, and I've told your co-writer Drew Shalka about this, is Sinners. That song is wild. I was telling my mom about this actually, saying that, at the end of the movie, when there's all the explosions and everybody's like, heck yeah, that is where that song belongs. It is so good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was written by Drew Shalka, myself, Scott Baggett, and Donnie Anderson. It was actually written in it was left over in the pile from the first album, but it just fits so much better with this batch of songs that I knew it had to be in there. And it's a nice scene change because the other 5 songs are very tempo driven, up tempo, fast songs. To have something like this that's kind of a bit of a mellower tempo is really cool.
For sure. Now, you can get tickets for your show for Tom Petty at vicjubatheater.ca. But of course, where can everybody find more about you and the congregation and, of course, all of your music?
They can, anywhere that you get your music, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, you can find the congregation. If you go online at Facebook, just look up Clayton Bellamy or the congregation. Either one, we're pretty easy group to find. And yeah, you can follow us, you can like us, and see all the tour dates on the website at thecongregationmusic.com. And people, encouraging people to come out. We got a big contest we're about to launch here on Friday that we're giving away a house concert. All you have to do is join the mailing list, and I'm going to come to somebody's house and play a concert for the evening, so people can sign up to win that.
That is so exciting. And I highly encourage everybody to get on that, of course, because as I mentioned a couple of times, you put on one heck of a show. So thank you so much for chatting with me, Clayton. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for joining us for our first hour of Primetime Local News. Our second hour continues next.